talk you through how I wind my bobbins before I start a project. You can wind a bobbin at the same time as you're sewing. So you would need 2 reels of thread, one threaded as it would be to sew, and then one threaded to come through here and then to your bobbin as you sew at the same time. I don't tend to do that because I find it doesn't wind the bobbins how I want them to. I think possibly because I don't sew very fast. I don't have my machine set at a very high speed, so I just find it doesn't wind the bobbins sort of as effectively and with the right sort of tension as what I would like. So I actually always wind my bobbins before I start a project, and this is how I do it. So I'm going to start off by using my knee lever and pushing the knee lever and lifting the back lever at the same time. By using the knee lever, it makes lifting this back lever so much easier. If you just try and lift this back lever at the same without pressing the knee lever, it's really stiff and really hard. So using the knee lever does make it a lot easier. So I lift my foot up out of the way, and then I always take my needle out as well. I usually change my needle anyway at the start of a new project, so I take that out and then change it. And then what I also do is I also take my bobbin case out. And this is a colour that I've just been using, so I'm going to change colour and wind two bobbins. The project I'm going to do isn't a massive project. I can probably get away with 1 bobbin, but I'm going to wind 2 to be on the safe side. If I'm doing a much bigger bag, I'll tend to do 3. The reason being, although these bobbins, can you see that? Yeah, so these bobbins are actually quite big, but I'm obviously using a Tech 70 thread. Just wait for that to refocus. So the thread is thicker and bigger, so it'll probably still only wind on about as much as what a standard bobbin would with a standard thread. So I would tend to wind 3 just to be on the safe side when I am starting a project, if it's a larger project. So I'm going to pop my thread on and just feed it through the back of through the stand. So I'm just going to zoom you in a little bit. So I'm going to take the thread through this back hole and then through the tension discs and then through this front hole here, and I'm just going to make sure that that's sitting nicely in those tension discs, and then I'm going to thread it through one of the holes, clip it into place and push this lever against the bobbin. And again, I'm just going to see if I can zoom it in just a tiny touch more, because I want to show you one of the reasons why I actually wind my bobbins up separately. As I previously said, don't sew at a very fast speed. I'm actually a really slow sewer on the industrial, but you know, I'm not in any hurry any time, so it's fine. I'd rather take my time and get my seams and my top stitching and everything okay. But what that does mean is, because I'm sewing at a much slower rate, the oil that is in the pan underneath, and I'll zoom back out and show you that in a second. The oil that is in the pan underneath doesn't get pulled through the machine as well as when you sew at a higher speed. So what I always do is I wind my bobbins at the highest speed possible to pull through the oil. and you can see this little dome here. I'm not 100% sure if you're going to be able to see this if the camera zoomed in close enough. But what will happen, as I wind this bobbin, this little sort of window here, you will be able to see the oil sort of going against it, and basically that means that the oil is then being pulled all the way through the machine. So I'm just going to wind the bobbin now. I'm trying to keep my arm out of the way so that you can see this. See there you can still see there. So I'm literally, and you can see the oil coming up. I'm just going to snip this thread now, then I don't need to hold it. You can see the oil coming up against this window here. And this will flick out once the bobbin is wound fully. So I'm just going to wind a second bobbin just to make sure that I have enough for my project, but also it means that the oil has a good run through the machine as well. So I'm just going to run another bobbin. And that's my second bobbin wound, and the machine's had a good oil through, like ran through it. There is a video by, I think it's Oz Sewing, and I will link it in the description box below, who explains all of the places that you need to oil on your machine. So he explains about taking this off, also putting oil in a few points up here, a couple of points inside here that actually oil the like the needle shaft. So I will link in the description box to that one, because that is the one that I follow when I am oiling my machine. I'm just going to zoom back out a little bit, try not to show you my messy sewing room, and just tip you up slightly and show you what I mean by the oil that's in the pan under here. So you basically, I'm going to turn the machine off just to be on the safe side. I'm just going to wait for that light to go off, means that there's nothing coming through. And when you tip the machine back, and there is a stand at the back here so that will rest, all in here is where the oil will be. I'm not really sure if you can see with the light. I really need to have a play with the light for video, and I've kind of got the angles okay, I think, but I need to have a bit think about the light. But in here is basically a pan of sewing machine oil. There's a high and a low point, so it shouldn't go over the high point, but it also shouldn't run below the low point. And if it does run below the low point, it's either a good opportunity to change the oil in your machine or give it a quick top up. And Saya Swag channel, she did a really good video on changing the oil in her industrial machine, which is, I think it's a Kingsman, her machine, but all of the industrial machines are very, very similar. You have a little plug down in this corner here that you just kind of, you screw out and you put something underneath to catch the oil. and then, you know, you would give it a clean to make sure that there was no bits of thread and anything in there before putting fresh oil in. So I'm just gonna pop that back in place, and I'll show you how I thread the machine. So I'm just going to take the thread out of here, and it's going to go through this first hole and then through the second hole, and I'm going front to back and then coming to the front and then to the back, and then I'm going through this hole at the top from behind to front, and then the hole at the bottom again I'm going from behind to front. And then this goes through these tension discs here, and I just kind of give it a little wiggle to make sure that it's sitting in those discs properly. You're then going through this little hole here, and then you come in through these tension discs here, and you're going to come back on yourself and hook it into this little spring that's on that tension disc. You then come under this arm through this little hook here. Just going to move that into the up position with it being off. Yeah, so you come through this little hook here, and then through the hole at the arm at the top, and then you're literally hooking behind these two hooks here, and then this hook here that's just above the needle, and then you would go through this hole at the front where the needle is, and then you would obviously thread your needle going left to right. Obviously I haven't got my needle put back in yet. I'm going to get a fresh needle out and put that in before I start my project. So that is how I wind my bobbins and how I thread my Jack H2 walking foot machine. Just a quick recap: I lift the foot up by pressing the knee rest and by pulling up at the back. That makes it a lot easier. I take out my bobbin case and I take out my needle, and then I thread the bobbin up and I put it on the highest speed. So I'm just going to switch it back on just to give you another little tip of when you've finished doing your bobbins, pop your machine back down to the speed that you like to sew at, because there has been many a time when I have not done that and then I've rethreaded and gone to start away and my machine's been set at 2200, and it's A, nearly took my fingers off, and B, that seam has been nowhere near straight. So just a little tip there, that before you start, I usually try and remember and do that actually before I rethread it, and then I know it's done. Obviously I had the machine turned off so I could show you the underneath. So yeah, once I've wound my bobbins up, I tend to always put my speed back down to the speed that I like to sew at, or even possibly slightly less, and then I rethread the machine ready to go. So I hope that's been helpful and shown you a little bit on the Jack H2O walking foot industrial machine. Thanks for watching. Bye. Thank you so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe to see my next video when it's released. I'll see you next time.